Hi friends, today we're going to make butter, period. Now I'm using my Black & Decker hand mixer. You can actually use your stand mixer if you have a stand mixer like a KitchenAid. Or actually you can even do this with a mason jar. But you will see with the stand mixer that takes some time. The whole process probably was about 30 to 40 minutes. I've sped it up on the video so that you didn't have to sit through that much. But it is, a little bit of time. But all you do is buy the heavy whipping cream. And this particular bowl has 4 cups of heavy whipping cream. Then just crank your mixer up. So it's just a matter of time, and you just mix and mix and mix. And it can get a little messy, can splatter, so you'll try to be careful with that. And as you can see in this photo, it's risen as you whip it. It gets increased in size because of the air in it, and so it's at the top of the bowl. But as you continue, you can see the change in the texture. And again, this is a sped up crop video, so it does take some time. It'll change texture. So you'll go from just the heavy whipping cream, and it'll whip to peaks. And that, if you wanted to stop at that point, you could add like some vanilla extract and a sweetener and use it as whipped cream. I actually did that with some of this for breakfast this morning over waffles. But if you continue to whip it, there's a process that happens where the milk fat will separate, and so you'll have butter, and then you'll have the liquid, which is buttermilk. Now, don't be mistaken that it's going to smell or taste like the buttermilk that you purchase at the store, because the buttermilk you purchase at the store has something added to it that gives it that sourness that you get. But this buttermilk that comes from the separation of the butter fat is wonderful to use in baking. So I usually put mine in a mason jar and store it in the fridge and just use it to make pancakes or waffles or cornbread or bread, whatever that you would normally use milk for. So as you see, we're continuing to bake. Like I said, it does take some time. So with a hand mixer, your arms are going to get tired. That's the nice thing about using a stand mixer. Now, if you wanted to do this as like a science project with children, you put it in a mason jar, but you would only put like half a cup or maybe a cup, about a cup of it. And you put the lid on really tight, and they shake. And they shake and shake and shake and shake, and sometimes it feels like it's never going to happen. But eventually, the process does happen. But it's kind of neat to do it with little kids, especially when you see it change the textures and everything. So here we are, we're still whipping, and you can see, I tried to make with the camera, was where you could see the texture changes. It gets real soft and fluffy, like a whipped cream, and then it starts having little pebbles in it as it starts the process. And then it's like magic. It just, all of a sudden, you'll see the milk separate from it. So it'll take just a little while, but we're just going to continue whipping. Yeah, it's just really neat to do these things. I was talking to one of my friends, and I said, it's just, you like to challenge yourself. What old skills can you bring back and do? And making butter is one of them. I actually have a little small wooden butter mold, because back in the day, they would place it in the little molds and push down on it and form it into a block or a square. I buy butter at the store, and some of the butter, I've been surprised when I look at the ingredients that there's other stuff in it, because honestly it should just be heavy whipping cream. And then it's up to you if you want it salted or not salted. But this is ridiculous. To everything that we eat has so many extra things in it that are not necessary. It's not helpful for us to have that. Just whole food should just be few ingredients. But as you can see how far it's went down in the bowl, it's working because it did the whipped cream. It got real big all the way to the top of the bowl. And then as we continue whipping it, it's going down. And those milk fats and the solid and the milk are separated. So you can see that. see how it's kind of pebbly looking in the bowl. I'm going to show you. Okay, it has separated. So what I'll do is I'll get another bowl and put ice water in it. Well, first I'm going to pour this milk out. So this is your buttermilk. And you could use a strainer if you wanted to, but I just use my hand because I'm going to squish some out of the butter too. But you can see where the milk has separated from the butter fat. And we just want to get as much of that milk off of the butter as we can, because that will allow the butter to stay fresh longer. So I'm going to get a bowl, have ice cubes in it with water, and then we're going to bring that back over to the counter. And you can see the butter in the mixing bowl there. Okay, so we're going to take the butter and just with our hands, we're going to try to make balls and just squeeze. You'll see all the milk coming out of it. You want to get as much of that milk out as you can, so just squeeze as hard as you can. That's why I say used to. They had like the little bowl butter molds that they use. So I squeeze it and then I place it in the ice water. And I'm going to get all that I can out because that butter is like gold. It's really good. If you've ever had fresh butter, you know what I'm talking about. We don't want to waste any of it. So I get every little piece that I can. And I'm going to squeeze the buttermilk out. And then I'll put it in the water. Any little pieces. And plus, you don't want that to go down your drain when you wash your dishes either. Just like with sourdough, you know, you don't want that stuff to go down your drain. So this is our butter sitting in ice water. And we're going to kind of rinse it with our hand and squish around on it to try to get the milk out of it. And then we're going to squeeze the milk and the water out of it the best we can. So just kind of rinsing it and squeezing it just to get any of that butter fat, the buttermilk, off of the fat. See how it just shapes right up? It's really fun to do. So it's a great project for you to do with your kids. And just rinsing and squeezing. A little bit like Play-Doh. Just trying to get those milk particles off of it. And I like to, at first, wrap mine up with parchment paper. It's easy for you to use the sides of the parchment paper to kind of square it up. And that just makes it easier for you to slice. And you can actually cut it into quarters like sticks like you're used to from the store. That's, you know, just a choice that you would have. So I'm washing my hands the best I can, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to get the parchment paper ready. And again, you see in the bowl under the mixer, that's the buttermilk. So you don't want to waste that. So you can put that in a mason jar with a lid and put that in your fridge and then use it for baking or cooking. Just kind of clean up a little bit because it does splatter a little bit, so be prepared for that. And then we're going to lay a piece of parchment paper out, and then we just again squeezing, just trying to make sure we get all that buttermilk off of it, and then we're going to place it together and shape it. And I guess it's just tradition to shape it in a rectangle. And you can use the sides of your parchment paper to firm it up and to square it off. And that's as simple as it is. Now, this is unsalted butter. And about this time, I realized, or really close now, I realized I prefer a lightly salted butter. And so you will see me in a minute. See, it's a good square. But you will see me break that apart in a minute and add just a little bit of salt to it. But you want to make sure you massage the salt into the butter well, because you don't want like one piece with a lot of salt on it. You want it to be distributed evenly throughout the butter. So squish it up and put it back in the bowl and add this little salt. I particularly, in this instant, I'm using the pink Himalaya salt, and I didn't measure. Just give it a little shake across it, because I just like mine very lightly salted, because if I'm baking with butter, I prefer to be able to measure my salt in my recipe. And again, here we are mixing the salt in well, just massaging it all the way throughout. And then we're going to do the same process of squaring this back up into like a little loaf. And use that parchment paper to assist you to square up the ends. And we'll just square it up, wrap it up, and there it is. Isn't that beautiful? And you can make this your family's homemade butter. You don't have to rely on a store. And if you have a milk cow, you know this already, and you've got it made. We that don't have a cow, we just purchase our heavy whipping cream. There is our butter, and there's our buttermilk. How awesome is that? Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. And just click like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.